If we get elected, we will certainly not have a digital ID.
You started a petition against it. Can you talk a little bit more why you started it?
Yes, exactly. So we were concerned about the dangers that a digital ID poses, and we've spoken about many of them already today. Obviously, one is government overreach. They could potentially penalize you, or in the case of another lockdown, they could say, hey, if you're more than 10 kilometers away from home or 20 kilometers away from home, your credit card isn't going to work anymore. We know that they were tracking us. Generally, the Public Health Agency of Canada was looking at all the cell phone data about where everybody was going. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could say, you know what, if you're 20 kilometers away from home, your digital ID, your digital currency, your credit card's not going to work anymore.
The battle for Ontario has begun. We need to stand up, stand our ground, and fight. Fight for our freedom. Fight for our families. Fight for our faith.
So here, Alexa for Urban News, and today I will have an interview with Mr. Derek Sloan. For who don't know this man, he is a former elect member of the parliament, and he was part of the member of the Conservative Party until he was expelled in 2021. Afterwards, he became the new leader of the Ontario Party. As you know, the provincial election in Ontario is coming soon. So today with Derek Sloan, we will touch a really serious topic. We will talk about the digital identity that's coming up, not only in Ontario and Quebec, but probably in the rest of Canada. We will have an interview about it and see his point of view about the subject. Let's check it out. You're against the digital identity. A lot of people doesn't understand why people are not for it. Can you explain your position and why you take that position?
Yeah, so the digital ID is goes against all the principles of data management that conservatives have traditionally believed in. For example, it centralizes all the data in one location. We believe in data decentralization. We believe in minimal data collection, and we believe in minimal data retention. So what that means is any data that is collected should be decentralized. So if you go to your doctor and there's some kind of provincial database for health records, that shouldn't be connected with your banking records or your driver's license or other elements of your identity. Secondly, when it comes to limited data collection, we want the government to collect as little data as possible. And what we're seeing with countries like communist China, they do exactly the opposite. They collect as much data as they can, and they use that to create a social credit score for a citizen, wherein if you don't say the right things or do the right things, your score goes down, and then you can't apply to the right, the schools you want to apply to. You can't buy plane tickets. You become unable to participate in society. So we're afraid that the digital ID leads us in that direction. And the other, principle as well of data collection is limited retention. So what that means is if you have to collect data as the government, it should be as little as possible. It should be as decentralized as possible, and you should hold on to it for as short a time as necessary. So, this kind of digital ID brings theoretically all kinds of information together. It could be theoretically stored forever, and it's all in one place. So this is a problem. Now, of course, they're not. I'm looking, 5, 6, 7 years down the road with this. They're going to start this off very, minimally in the sense of, okay, here's your driver's license. It's online. You can use it to, open a bank account or something, but it could very easily expand. And when you connect a digital ID with a digital currency, you can have a government that has the ability to flip the switch in your ability to access your money very easily. And we saw truckers or people in the convoy that had their bank accounts shut down. The RCMP largely had to call the bank accounts of different people and say, hey, shut this guy down, shut this guy down. Imagine if they could just, go to the giant switchboard and just start switching the switches. And also with a digital currency, we had one of our candidates for the Ontario Party, Tom Marazzo. He has a son that requires special medication for a heart condition. He had his bank account, his credit card shut down, even his spouse's account was shut down, which again goes against the principles of what they were supposed to do. They had no actual way of buying the medication. Now, they were able to use cash, and that's a good thing. But in the context of a digital currency, they would have had no way to purchase this medication. So, it's a government's, a totalitarian government's dream to have these kinds of things put together in one, a digital ID and a digital currency.
Do you think you have a threat for all these information to be stuck in the cloud, to be hacked, or to be sold to other country or other institution?
Yeah. So obviously the biggest danger is government overreach, but the other danger is, hacking or, information identity theft. If someone, gets your credit card number and an address, they can steal your identity. Or they can at least, use your credit card and do other things. So imagine if your entire identity was available in one central location, they could just, hack and steal it. So I think security concerns are major issues with this as well. So
we know that Justin Trudeau have decided to be one of the pilot project with the World Economic Forum and Accenture to be the one for the non-digital identity and the Toronto Pearson Airport is one of the partnership. How can you, as a premier in Ontario, can stop this project?
Well, I think that we need to raise the alarm about it and share with people why it's a problem. My guess is this program is going to be voluntary at first, so we need to encourage people to not voluntarily, sign up for this program. It's a major issue, and unfortunately, airlines and aviation and entry into Canada is a federal jurisdiction. But I think we can raise a lot of concern about that at the provincial level as well.
And so we know that a lot of pressure, when we look at the measure as the vaccine passport, it's still active in federal level, but not for the provincial. But still put some pressure on the province, and some of businesses are still using it because they didn't say you need to stop it. It's on a volunteer base, it's up to you to use it or not. Or you will stop the pressure coming from the federal to not make you lose hand on this issue.
Yeah. So, an Ontario party government led by our party would, of course, not listen to the federal government on that issue. And we would actively push back against it. When it comes to the mandates that are, still being put in place, particularly at the business level, it's the fault of the province for not preventing that. Right. So right now, the province could tell the businesses, no, you can't have a vaccine passport. You need to let people, come into your business. That's what we would do as an Ontario party government. And, these other governments that haven't done that are cowardly, in my view.
So we know that the president of the Bank of Canada went out to say that he's embracing the digital identity. So what you will do when they will change their confidential politic to say that you need to have a digital identity or a numeric wallet to have access to a loan or to a credit card or something like that, or you will do for protecting your citizens from Ontario?
Yeah, so I think as a provincial government, we should refuse to do that. We should, in fact, take the government to court and institute a constitutional challenge. I think there's various ways in which that could be successful, if only for the risk that you're putting people's information at. In our province, we want to require the usage or require companies to accept cash. Businesses that are under provincial jurisdiction, which are most businesses outside of, banks and some other industries, we want to say, listen, you need to accept cash. There's a tendency right now for companies to say, we don't accept cash anymore under the pretense of COVID and protecting people from COVID. But we want to be like the United States in that regard and say, listen, you should, if you're a business, you need to accept cash. You want to accept credit, that's fine, but you also need to accept cash.
Yeah, so we were talking about the cryptocurrency, but as well the digital cash. So some people doesn't see the difference. You're not against the cryptocurrency. Can you explain a little bit the difference and why you're not against the cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so there is a very important difference. So we're talking about, on one hand, a government central bank currency, and that's controlled by the government, that's potentially mandated to be used by citizens, and on the other hand, cryptocurrencies, which are run and created by private companies. You have the option of whether to use a cryptocurrency or not, and you also have many different options. There's tons and tons of different cryptocurrencies out there. If you want to use them, you can, and you have lots of choice. The government, of course, doesn't control your cryptocurrency wallet, and it's in some ways a bulwark of protection against the government. A central bank digital currency would be one where you have to use it, and in conjunction with the digital ID, the government could just flip off the switch to your bank account very easily. So the ingredients for tyranny are basically right there. When you have a digital ID and a central bank led digital currency, that's much different from cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is decentralized; it's completely out of the control of government, and frankly is a competitor to currencies that are backed by governments.
And which other party? I'm talking about the provincial one, but as well federal one, who wants to go on the direction of the digital identity, and which one you think can be a threat for that?
Yeah. So certainly the Conservative Party provincially, the Progressive Conservative Party, Doug Ford's Conservative Party, they had a plan to bring in a digital ID. We brought forward this petition in the legislature. We had 27,000 signatures. And they kind of backed off on that. The media asked them about it, and they refused to answer when they're going to do it. So the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, all of these people, as far as I know, are in favor of the digital ID. We can't trust any of them on that issue. So it's very important that we get a new government in place. And the Ontario Party, of course, is running in this election. And if we get elected, we will certainly not have a digital ID.
You started a petition against it. Can you talk a little bit more why you started it?
Yes, exactly. So we were concerned about the dangers that a digital ID poses, and we've spoken about many of them already today. Obviously, one is government overreach. They could potentially penalize you, or in the case of another lockdown, they could say, hey, if you're more than 10 kilometers away from home or 20 kilometers away from home, your credit card isn't going to work anymore. And we know that they were tracking us. Generally, the Public Health Agency of Canada was looking at all the cell phone data about where everybody was going. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could say, you know what, if you're 20 kilometers away from home, your digital ID, your digital currency, your credit card's not going to work anymore. So there's that issue. There's also the issue of identity theft and hacking. That's another major issue that we think, is a danger with the digital ID.
But thank you for explaining us why you're against it, and we understand a little bit more your position about it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for answering our question, and we'll probably see each other for the election that's coming soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So if you like what we are doing and you want to see all of our show, as you know, at Rebel News, we have private show that you need to subscribe. So if you're interested, go to rebelnews.com, subscribe for the year, and you will have access to all our shows.